What is the history of solar cycles in ancient and modern times? Are we heading towards a mini ice age? Hi, this is my second video. In earlier video, we learned about what is solar cycle, and so there is a rhythm of radioactivity at sun, and that rhythm is of 11-12 years, and this rhythm, this cyclicity is known as solar cycles, right? This concept of solar cycle is actually very nicely explained in the event of Kumbh Mela in our Indian Hindu mythology. But as it is a very detailed topic, so I will make another video for science behind the Kumbh Mela and how it is related to the solar cycles. So coming back to the topic again, these solar cycles, let us talk about the history of solar cycles. I will say history of solar cycles in ancient times in very brief, because we are pretty much interested in the history of modern times right now, because we will be able to relate the various events of modern time with respect to these solar cycles, and we will try to understand present situation with respect to those events. So what happens in ancient time? First, ancient people were having much more deeper, much more clearer knowledge about solar cycle. Scholars who are studying about Egyptian scripture will agree with me. In ancient Egypt, their emperor, what we call their emperors, Pharaoh. Pharaoh means the disciple, the descendant of sun, the devotee of sun. So Pharaoh, who is devotee of sun, who possesses so many of supernatural powers gifted by sun. Now you try to relate all this epic with the science, right? So the Pharaoh, who is devotee of sun, who worships sun, uh, he orders Egyptian ministers to keep record of river Nile's water level and its texture and its current, etc. So Egyptians are having thousands years of record of river Nile, inch water record they are having for every month, every year. How the Nile is getting young. Getting young means when the water in the Nile increases, when the current is high, when the power of current is very high, when the floods are severe. Uh, so how it is getting young in reference to activity, solar activity at sun. Then how it is getting old in the declining solar cycle, how the water is decreasing, how its textures are changing, then how the current of Nile water is not that much. So in the declining solar cycle also they were keeping the record of Nile. It is unique kind of biography they are having. Egyptians are having for a river. It's a biography of river, and it is of thousands of years. If you read one of Shakespeare's act, Antonio and Cleopatra, there also Shakespeare mentions about one instrument. He called it nilometer. Nilometer is used to measure the depth of any river, used to measure the amount of water in the river. So Egyptians were having much more deeper understanding about the solar cycles, and they were the first known civilization who related solar cycles with their day-to-day activity, with the living bodies we are having on our earth. Now NASA and other prestigious universities are proving that Egyptians were correct. The amount of water in all major rivers in our world, especially in Nile, depends largely on the solar activities. Let us come to the history of solar cycles in modern times. So in modern times, if we see, since the time of Galileo in 16th century, uh, solar cycles were known, and everyone started talking about solar cycles since 16th century only. And one very famous event with respect to solar cycles is known as Maunder minimum. What is Maunder minimum? The period of 1665 to 1720 we known as Maunder minimum, uh, when we say there was very cold 40-45 years. These 40-45 years were very cold, and it was discussed at that time that mini ice age will come. So much amount of cold was there. If you go to London Museum, there are many paintings with respect to this period of Maunder minimum, and those paintings are beautiful to see when the river Thames is the London Bridge, and below that, beneath that London Bridge, this river Thames is there, and the Thames is completely frozen. People are walking on that Thames river, and the complete city of London is struggling with these icebergs everywhere, and the life is tough. People are feeling so much of cold. Those kind of paintings are already there in London Museum, reminding us those cold years. So we started noting down record of solar activity since then, and solar activity at that time was very low. At that time it was at minimum, and after that, since 1876 to be particular, we are having each and every day till today, from 1876 till today, we are having each and every day photographed uh, of sun. Okay, we have photographed the sun each and every day since 1876, whenever the radiations were high, whenever the radiations were low, how many sunspots are there, each and every day we are having photographed since 1876. So then these solar cycles came into existence. So first cycle of 11-12 years, then second cycle, then third cycle. Today, right now, 24th cycle is getting completed, and we will be entering into 25th cycle. Means in this coming month of May only, probably this 24th cycle will end, and 25th cycle will again begin. So right now the solar activity of these 11-12 years rhythm is at its bare minimum. Okay, and more thing about this 24th cycle, this 24th cycle was very peculiar in nature with respect to the previous cycles, because this 24th cycle was the weakest. So you would have seen that last year also the winters were very cold as compared to earlier years. So this 24th cycle was very weak as compared to previous cycles. So that is why we are facing very less amount of heat. This is about the history of solar cycles, and in next video we will meet again and discuss the history of various geopolitical events, various pandemics, epidemics with respect to solar cycles. Okay, thanks for watching. This year and coming few years will be very cold, especially after 2025.